Hey everyone, it's Alexandra and welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to do my November plan with me, and before we get into it, I just want to do a quick flip through of October. So if you remember from my last plan with me, we did a pumpkin theme. A lot of you said it was like Cinderella inspired, which I never even really thought of until I actually looked at it again. I'm like, yeah, you guys are right. But I love how the Dutch store layouts and weeklies have been working for me. So let's do a quick flip through here so I can show you what's been happening. This is the cover page, my monthly, the mood pumpkins coming along. Again, I'm filming this very early because the later half of October is going to be a little busy. So my memories page is coming along, October gratitude. And then here are my Dutch store weeklies. So this was last week, this is this current week. Next week we're starting to get a couple of things in there, okay, as we're ending here the end of October. Also, two other spreads that I've added. My daughter Eva is now 5 months old, so she's been starting to try out baby food slowly. So I've been logging what I've been giving her as per the doctor's suggestions. I write down when I've given her whatever food it is and if she's had any reaction to it. So right now we're working through the fruits, and so far so good. But again, I know there's been a lot of questions on spreads dealing with babies or young children. So this one was one that I thought was very helpful. And then for myself, I've been really getting into eating healthier, especially with two young children. I find that I don't have enough time to sit down and eat healthy. So meal planning and meal prep has really helped me focus on eating better. So for me, especially with lunch, it's taken the form of a Buddha bowl. And if you haven't tried it or Googled it, you should look it up because it's a real great way to kind of incorporate the major food groups into your meals. So I did a reference page. This is what I got off of Pinterest with the 4 different groups that you should include in your meal. So the grains, veggies, proteins, and toppings that you could add. So this is just a reference page for me if I'm some for ideas, especially for lunch, that I can meal prep ahead of time, roast the veggies or cook the quinoa or whatever it is and have it a whole bunch set aside, and then I always have something healthy to eat in the fridge. So this is what I've been doing for that. And then this has been my taking stock page for October. I liked how it worked out for September, so I wanted to recreate that for October. So November. Geez, I can't believe we're nearing the end of 2018. This year has been, I think, like the longest, fastest year ever. So much has happened, but I feel like it's moving slowly, which is weird, but that's how I feel. Either way though, for November, I've been itching to draw florals again. It's been a while. I think it was March was the last time I actually drew florals in my bullet journal when we did the Doodle With Us in March challenge, and I was really wanting to draw again, and I was like, well, what could I do that would kind of fit in with the time of year and not be so far-fetched? So for November, aside from it being Thanksgiving, and I've done Thanksgiving spreads before, I wanted to kind of best of both worlds. I drew poppy flowers. The poppy flower is also very symbolic for Veterans Day, which is also in November, based on a World War I poem in Flanders Fields. And so I said, perfect, I think, and so I kind of went with that idea. And so the poppy flower is my theme for November. Just kind of wispy poppies like floating in the fields, and carrying that floral motif all throughout my spreads. So I kind of went with that, kind of veering away from the traditional Thanksgiving spreads because I've done that before and I wanted to challenge myself and do something new. So for November, 3 colors for this month, deeper reddish orange in 845, a lighter version. Although this looks like orange, it really doesn't come out as orange as the cap would entail. But this color in the 905 and then the green on repeat for the grass and the stems in 192. I'm also going to be using my colorless blender as well as my Pigma Micron 08 size for the outlines for the flowers, and then the more thinner Tombow mono drawing pen in the 03 to get the more fine detailed lines for the flowers. I will be doing a Dutch store again this month, and I don't want to give too much of a spoiler alert, but let's dive into the plan with me and enjoy. So for the cover page, I went in first with the Pigma Micron 08 size pen to do a rough outline of the major portions of the flowers. And I've learned along the way, if you take the thinner of the pens, in this case the 03 size, and you pull the fine lines towards the center of the flower, you create a more lifelike, realistic looking floral piece, which I was really happy with the end result and how it all turned out. For the font, I did a script font, a cursive font, drew in the stems here, and I really got good at creating different types of the variations of the poppy, closed up buds, the open flower, etc. As far as the coloring goes, there are a couple of layers to the coloring, and a part of me was a little disappointed that the Loic term didn't really hold up with the color very well. You see when I flip the page over to do the calendar that it kind of, there's a little bit of ghosting. But if you take the first red color and you outline, leaving some space open, not coloring it completely, and then I go back in with the second of the red-orange colors, leaving the middle portion of the flower white, because then I will go back in with the colorless blender and kind of fill in and blend in the remaining portion, which gives it a very, very realistic look, and I was so happy with how this came out. But also the color that I've picked up from the colorless blender I used to color in the cursive and the closed up flower buds. And then lastly, I take the green and the 192, make some nice wispy grass and some dots to add some decorative touches to it. So for the monthly, I've been sticking to the same monthly calendar that I've been doing for the last 2 months. I've really liked how this has been working out for me. In this case, you'll see me just drawing up a few more poppy flowers, continuing the same font for the November header, and I've included a quote from Ella Montgomery regarding the month of November, which I thought was really, really fitting. But you'll see that with the cover page that there is a little ghosting with the red. It's because it is a very deep red. If you do have a notebook that has a thicker paper, like a Scribbles That Matter or a Dingbats or a Archer and Olive, for example, I don't think you'll have this issue. But I learned to kind of just take it easy with applying too much color and then going back with the colorless blender to avoid the ghosting in the future pages. But you live, you learn. But I will let you sit here and enjoy watching me set up the monthly. Next is my mood tracker, and I decided to do it a little differently this month. Again, keeping with the theme of the poppies, I have all 30 days of November on the bottom, and then each day, depending on my mood, each flower will be a varying height. So if I'm really sad, it'll be on the lower end of the tracker. If I'm having a really good day, then the flower will be really tall. And I've decided to also keep my memories page on the opposite side very simple. So here's where I begin to set up the Dutch Door weeklies, starting off with my gratitude log. I'm doing 1 line of gratitude a day, and this determined how far down I was going to cut the Dutch Door. And then I have my running to-do list on the right-hand side for all my tasks for November. With this Dutch Door this month, it served to be very useful and time-saving in the fact that I am a more decorative bullet journalist, and so I do like my doodles and things, but this allowed me to only draw 1 illustration, and it'll last me for the whole entire month because the bottom portion is stationary. So as I flip from week to week, the week changes, but not the drawing at the bottom. So bullet journal hack, if you do want it to keep it decorative, but you don't have the time to draw illustrations or doodles from week to week, doing a Dutch Door allows you to do and spend time on 1 beautiful illustration that can last you the whole entire month. As you can see, also I have a little mini November calendar on the bottom right hand corner for reference for the whole entire month. Just doodling in the poppies. I'm going back in with the same coloring technique that I used for the cover page and the monthly calendar, going in with the darker red orange color, then going back in with the lighter version of that, coloring in the remaining white portions with my colorless blender to create a really good shadowing blending effect, and then going back in with the green in the 192 for the wispy grass. I then use also, you'll see a light pink in the 850 to highlight every other line for my gratitude log and my to-do list, just so that it makes it a little more visually appealing and easier to write in either to-dos or my 1 line of gratitude a day. And then lastly here, I am actually setting up all of my weeks for November. I decided to keep the layout super simple. A lot of you might be wondering where my weather icons are for the Dutch Door. I just decided this month to include them into my dailies. So that is what the little box is next to the day header that I will fill in with the weather. And basically, I do this for all 4 weeks, and the only difference between week to week is that I just vary up the colors that I use for writing in the days. So 1 week I did the darker red in the 845. The next week I used the green in the 192 to write in the days. For the 3rd week of November, I went with the secondary red orange color in the 905. And then for the last week of November going into December, I went back to using the green. But I decided to keep it very simple. It's have that consistency between the weeks and flip back to see what I did really makes a difference for me. So sometimes it's just best to keep it simple. And so here is the final flip through of my November spreads. I hope you guys enjoyed watching me create all of these spreads, and it gives you some inspiration, again, to try the Dutch door for yourself. It's a time saver. I love it. It really combines functionality with the more decorative elements. But I hope you guys have a fantastic end of October and November, and I'll see you in the next video. Have a good one. Bye.